What is up, and welcome back to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. Major League Baseball season is wrapping up, so you know I had to bring this man back on the show. When he first came on my show, he didn't have a podcast at all. Now he keeps dropping them every week. It feels like he's got a wicked good time where he talks about candles, all the different candles he comes across. He's got Growing Up Low Country with Danny and Liz, pretty self-explanatory. He's got Since We Last Spoke, where he talks about a little bit of everything, interviews all kind of great people. And of course, the greatest baseball podcast, I'm going to say, in the universe. At the Plate with Danny Foxworth, we've got Danny Foxworth joining me tonight. Danny, what is going on?
Man, my dude, man, great to be back on the pod. It's always a good time chopping it up with you, man. I'm looking forward to this one.
Definitely. So if anyone listens to Danny's podcast, they know my favorite segment is the 5-question segment, where he hits his guest with 5 questions off the top of the dome. We did a little bit different style tonight, where I'm going to hit Danny with 5 MLB questions. We're going to see. There is one bonus question I have not told him, but I did want to give the man some prep time because I'm a good host, I like to think. So Danny, if you are ready, we're going to get into it.
Let's get into it.
All right, question number 1. I'm a Dodgers fan. Am I crazy for already trying to figure out a place where to put Shohei Ohtani on my all-time greatest hitters list?
You're not crazy at all. The man is, making a statement this year. Man, I tell you what, I didn't know what to expect with him coming off of that Tommy John surgery, how well that would affect his hitting, but it hasn't affected his hitting at all. And if anything, if almost feels like the Tommy John surgery actually improved his hitting by some strange logic. I mean, he's hitting 303, 53 home runs, 125 RBIs. First player in MLB history to hit the 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases in a single season. I'm telling you, man. I remember leaving work and I went to my uncle's house and we watched the game together when he reached the 50-50 milestone. And each at bat, we're damn near in tears laughing because we cannot wrap our minds around the absurdity of the offensive power, just show that he's putting on. I mean, 6 for 6 with 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, and 10 RBIs. Dodgers put up 20 runs. He's responsible for half of those runs by himself. He is incredible.
It was unreal. Brett, friend of the show, Brett hit me up. He's like, "Oh, Shohei, he just stole a base." And I was like, "Man, I forgot that game was on. I better tune in." And you're right. He just kept hitting bomb after bomb after bomb. And the sound when it comes off his bat is crazy. You
need earplugs for it. You can't tell if it's a bat crack or a gunshot. It's ridiculous.
Yes. And what caught me off guard, so I did some reporting. I did go to Atlanta to check out the Dodgers against the Braves and got to see Shohei. And you don't really get a sense for how big baseball players are because it's not like basketball or football where there's like an instant comparison. This dude looks like a tight end. Like, he is jacked. Yeah. And that's why it sounds like a shotgun coming off his bat.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
It was just unreal. So who all time, where is he starting to fit in on your all-time list?
Oh my gosh.
Because I know I was trying to think today, and I know for me, the 2 greatest hitters, at least I'll say the 2 hitters I enjoy watching the most, was Bonds and Griffey.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to see where Shohei, because he's behind them to me automatically. Like, he hadn't done enough yet. But I'm trying to see, like, where is he? Is he starting to creep up to that 3rd slot? Or is he in is he in the 2nd tier? Is he in the 3rd tier? I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, if he can sustain this for maybe 2 or 3 more years, then I'll put him higher up the list. My top 3 hitters are Tony Gwynn, Barry, and Ichiro.
Oh, Ichiro. Yeah, that man was serious. Because I was looking through just some different seasons that people have had that have been ridiculous. Obviously, we had Acuna last season, was unreal. Felt like Pujols had a run of seasons there where he was hitting like 340 with 40 home runs and 120 RBI.
Yeah.
And then Vlad Guerrero, 2002, 336, 39 homers, 111 RBI, 40 steals. Now, what's funny about that one, he was caught stealing 20 times. Now, Shohei has not, I think he's got like a 95% success rate, but Vlad kind of seemed to approach base stealing the same way he approached just plate discipline. This dude was just
best bad
no matter what.
Yep, best bad ball hitter I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he was super entertaining to watch, but I'm like, man, because I did see some people on Twitter where you find all kind of takes that are great and terrible start to be like, oh, greatest hitter ever. I was like, I don't know if I'm there yet with Shohei, but this is a hell of a season. Do you care any about the stolen bases with the bigger base? Does that take away from it for you?
Not at all. Not at all. I like the stolen bases. Since Ricky left, it's like the stolen bases really became a lost art, and them making the bases bigger, it kind of adds that element to the game that I was sorely missing. And so yes. I welcome the stolen bases with open arms. I mean, look at Acuna. 40 home runs and 70 stolen bases in one season. I still can't wrap my mind around that.
Ridiculous. It kind of reminds me of, like, they messed with the height of the pitching mound too. And I'm sure people, when they did that, were like, oh, these hitting stats don't count, but everyone got over it. You just kind of accept this is just how things are now. And it's bringing back a fun part of the game, like you're saying. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Now, a secondary question. We've answered the all-time question. This season, is Shohei, you mentioned he's not pitching. He's DHing because of the Tommy John surgery, which is ridiculous. Is he your NL MVP? I know we got a couple of other players who are making a pretty good case as well, who do a little bit more. Or is this 50-50 season? Is that just overriding anything anybody else is doing?
For me, that's overriding anything that anybody else is doing. And kudos to Francisco Lindor, because he's having an incredible season. 31 home runs, 86 RBIs. And also, he's playing elite defense at a premium defensive position. So you also have to take that into consideration. But with Ohtani, putting up the numbers he's putting up, and considering that Freddie Freeman missed time and Mookie Betts missed a significant amount of time, and they were still he still carried that team on his back, and they didn't miss a beat. So I think for me, that's the thing that sways me towards giving Ohtani the NL MVP.
Yeah, because you mentioned Freddie and Mookie. We have not gotten that pitching rotation straightened out at all. Like, still everyone's dropping like flies there, and he's been the steady, the thing that's held us down that whole time. So for me, it's him. And then I remember it reminds me of last season's NL MVP conversation too, where you had obviously Acuna with the incredible season. And I know me and Brett got on here like, you can make a case for Mookie Betts because he was playing infield positions too and carried us. He got an incredible August. Man, I have never felt it was like, I imagine it's like if you were on Showtime at the Apollo and the Sandman got brought out, like that was the feeling that I got based on that argument. So the people have already set the precedence in my mind that historic numbers matter. So I think, in my incredibly biased opinion, it goes to Shohei. But you're right, Lindor is he's had an amazing season. To have the Mets not be a team that we're laughing about right now. Yeah. Come on.
I mean, they've been red hot in August and September.
Yeah, they're looking really good. And then in the AL, is there any chance anyone can overcome Aaron Judge? Speaking of historic hitting seasons.
Former Charleston River Dog Aaron Judge.
Yes, get it right. Get me right.
The answer is no. This man, even though everybody's focused on Ohtani, reaching a milestone that nobody's seen. Aaron Judge is putting up video game numbers right now. 324, 57 home runs, 142 RBIs. Cracked the first player to crack the 140 RBI mark since 2009 when Prince Fielder and Ryan Howard both did it the same year. And an OPS of 1.163. Absurd. Man. Yeah, he's far and away the MVP. Bobby Witt was giving him some. He was on his heels for a second, but yeah, it's Judge's. It's Judge's world, and we're just living in it.
It was ridiculous. I had to triple check the numbers because I was like, wait, 324, 57, and 142? This doesn't make any sense. And it was factual. And I was like, okay, well, that will do it for that conversation. But you mentioned Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals, 333, 32 homers, 108 RBI, 31 stolen bases himself. That's a guy I wasn't super familiar with his game heading into the season. But now I'm like, okay, you got to tune in for Royals games. Check him out. Yeah. Who are some players for question number 2? Who are some players who you weren't really paying attention to prior to this season? They weren't really on your radar. And then you've seen what they've done this year. And you're like, oh, this is must-see TV.
Yeah, I got 2. Is Anthony Santander from the Orioles. I mean, I'd never heard of this dude. And all of a sudden, like, he's got 44 homers and 101 RBIs. And for an Orioles team where, you know, everybody's talking about Jackson Holliday and Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman, and rightfully so. But this man, like, I don't know where he came from, but he's just playing out of his mind right now. It's him and other dude on my radar is Oakland A's leadoff hitter Lawrence Butler from Atlanta. I first got wind of him through the Good Brother Cheat. Shout out to the Black Baseball Mixtape podcast. That was the first time I became familiar with him, and he really had a slow start in April and May, and he ended up getting demoted down. He got demoted down to AAA in May. And he got called back up in the middle of June, and the A's hitting instructor, you know, just did some alterations with his approach at the plate, and it's paid dividends since July 1st. He's hitting 312 with 20 home runs. And from August to September, there's a stretch from August to September where he had a 22-game hitting streak. So he's got it. He's got his shit together. And I
think he's only a raise.
Yeah, and he's only 24 years old, so the future is bright for him.
So that's crazy because I had Tony Santander too, all-time great nickname as well, Tony Taters.
Yeah.
And then if I had to name one, it would be KP mentioned him in the season preview episode that we did on At the Plate. I know we're probably going to do a season ending one as well. He mentioned, hey, y'all like the Dodgers? You're going to like Teoscar Hernandez, a dude who I wasn't really paying attention to. Teoscar, this dude hits bombs. If this is your first time listening to me, you're going to find out if you can hit home runs, I'm all in on you. I came up watching the 98 home run race. I'm here for the home runs. Teoscar delivers that. Big fan of that dude.
Yes, indeed.
He reminds me of your boy Garcia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just I think they're both Cuban too. Something, man. I don't know what they're doing in Cuba, but we got to investigate and get some help because, I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, for real.
That was I was looking at Tony Taters. I guess he's just been hitting home runs for a while now, but he's been doing it when Baltimore wasn't so good. And so no one paid attention. And now they're good. And he's got my attention for sure.
Yeah, you and me both.
So let's see. Question number 3. Who was the most disappointing team this season?
I actually have 2. The first team I'm going to mention is a team that when I asked everybody in the MLB season preview episode of At the Plate, like, what team aside from your own are you going to pay attention to? And my team was the Miami Marlins. And I chose them because of 3 players. And that has been an abject failure of an experiment. The 3 players that I mentioned are no longer on the team. Luis Arraez got traded to the Padres. Jazz Chisholm got traded to the Yankees. Tim Anderson is in purgatory right now. I don't know where he's at.
I'm hurting over the Tim Anderson thing.
Me too. I thought a fresh change of scenery would do him good, and it didn't. It did him even worse.
I cannot believe it.
Hit well below the Mendoza line, and now he's just completely out of baseball. You hate to see it.
That man got the Sonic coins knocked out of him and has not been the same. I don't understand.
It's been downhill ever since.
Yeah, I remember that. Speaking of us having the same pick with Anthony Santander, we had a lot of the same picks in that preview show. So this is an off-the-board question. At what point did you start getting nervous because you were like, Brandon picked these teams? Like, I don't know if I'm in good company.
And I wasn't too worried about that. I mean, your picks are your picks, and it just so happens that we shared the same. We echoed the same sentiment with our picks. So, yeah, I wasn't tripping off that.
I don't think we were too far off neither. We did all right.
Yeah. And the second team I'm going to name is the Chicago White Sox. But it's for opposite reasons though, because they're like a game away from breaking the MLB record for most single season losses. And now all of a sudden they start winning. Like the night where everybody was ready for them to break that record, and on the final out when they secured the win, everybody in Comiskey Park booed the hell out of the White Sox. I mean, you know what? Good for them. That's what they should do. It's like what the great Jim Rome once said. You either give me an A or give me an F.
Yes, because no one's going to care about them if they don't break that record. Like if you break the record, at least you're a cool trivia question. But now you're just a bad team for no reason.
You're 38 and 120.
That is terrible. I don't even know how you do that. Like am I starting pitcher? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So another team I wanted to ask you about too was you brought up the A's. I feel like they're pretty disappointing for another reason with them moving out of Oakland. What do you think about that? I know I just saw the game today. I think it was the largest crowd in MLB history, their last home game.
Wow, I didn't even know that. But yeah, it's extremely sad to see that the A's are leaving, number one, and number two. There's literally no more major league sports teams in the city of Oakland anymore. All because of that cheap ass owner. Just will not do right by the players and by the fans.
Just ridiculous. I know you've had a couple of A's fans on at the plate, and just the way they talk about it, you know that this is a passionate fan base. And I mean, you saw it today. They were trying to walk out with all the stadium chairs and getting the bottles of dirt. So they could have something to remember the team by. And I don't know, man, it's just crazy to see that. And everyone's trying to get to Vegas.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. I really hate to see it, especially considering the amount of rich history that the Oakland A's have. And not only that, like the rich history of black baseball players that came from Oakland as well. I mean, it's a hotbed of talent for a lot of years, and just to see the franchise just up and move away like that, it really hurts. And the shout out Nick Jew, she's the A's fan I had on the pod. She's at her wit's end with them. She's like, I'm done. I think she picked a new team, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. I don't blame her, because it's hard with the way sports are now to even really get invested in a team, because they're always doing just crazy stuff like this, where they either move or then they're going to sign someone who was caught on camera, like shooting everybody or something. It's like they make it so hard morally and spiritually to support them. And you can't trust them, because they're going to pack up and try to move to Vegas with the A's and the Raiders. Yep. It's like, damn, being a sports fan has never been harder.
Yeah, you're not lying.
It's terrible. So, yeah, those are pretty good disappointing teams. We'll take it a little more positive. Who is your pick to win the World Series?
Oh, my gosh. Man, I didn't really want to get into that, because I wanted to save that for the MLB playoff preview episode I'm going to do soon. But
I tell you what, I can reframe the question.
Okay.
Give me a couple teams to look some couple teams to look for. They might not necessarily be able to win the World Series, but maybe they'll surprise some people in the playoffs.
Man, son, I don't know what it is about the Padres, but it's just they really got my attention. They really have my attention. And I think they're going to I truly think they're going to make a deep run in the playoffs.
I'm not kidding you. That is in my notes. Padres ? They've been hot recently. They can pitch. They can score runs. I hate the Padres. I'm scared of the Padres. I know we're
rightfully
still
so.
Yeah, and we're still a little bit ways out from seeing who's in the wild card, who's not. But I'm more scared of the wild card teams than anybody because they seem to have been doing better with the expanded wild card recently.
Yeah, I like there's 3 teams now.
They don't mess around. Your Rangers last season were a wild card team, right?
Yep.
I think baseball, it must be such a rhythm sport, I would imagine, that the little time off you get, you just kind of, your bats go cold and everything just goes bad.
Yeah, it's good to have some good luck in place, too, because, like you said, the Rangers were a wild card team, and then they proceeded to go 11-0 on the road in the postseason, which I don't think has ever been done.
That's ridiculous. The baseball playoffs are so random. This is a bonus question. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite pro sports playoff format? Is it the baseball playoffs?
You know what? It is. I mean, the division round, it was I think it's best of 3.
Yeah.
And then they go from that to the divisions in the championship series is best of 7. No, it's long and it's drawn out, but for me, with baseball being my favorite sport, I have no problem with that because it gets no better with playoff baseball because the stakes are raised. It's win or go home.
Even when I fell out of love with baseball for a bit there, I would still tune in for the baseball playoffs because you're right. It's so exciting. You never really know what's going to happen. Whereas kind of feels like in NBA, more often than not, you do end up with the best team being the champion. But sometimes in the MLB playoffs, just the way it's like who gets hot at the right time, it's almost like a slightly longer version of March Madness to me.
Yeah. And I love that.
1,000%. So the final question, the random question that I did not prepare you for, you've been going on all these ballpark trips this year. You've been documenting them on your podcast. You've been to ballparks before. What is if you had to have a last meal solely of ballpark food, what would that last meal look like?
Oh my God. It would be the boomstick at the Rangers ballpark. It's a 2-foot long hot dog.
Damn.
With everything on it. So I would get that. I would get a Permane Brothers spicy capicola sandwich from PNC Park in Pittsburgh and 3 chili cheese conies from Skyline Chili from the Reds game.
Got you. That is a hell of a meal. So when I was at the Braves game, I tried ballpark food for the first time ever. I did not try it the previous time I went. So this is my second Major League Baseball game. I can't even remember the name of it. I was so disappointed. It was like lukewarm queso on a sourdough bread grilled chicken sandwich or something.
Oh.
And I was like, man, I just couldn't. Anything lukewarm, just the word lukewarm, you already know I'm going to be sad. And I was like, this sandwich was like $35.
Oh, my God.
I had to give plasma to get it. And then at that point, you got to finish it. Yeah. Because I was praying. I was like, I hope I'm not sick tomorrow. But I could be. But I survived it. But I was like, man, I gotta hit up a different ballpark. Truist, have you been to Truist yet?
Nah, never have.
So they have a nice little entertainment district set up around it. And it's super modern, super cool. Obviously, the ballpark's new. And they have all these bars and restaurants set up around it. They got some apartments and stuff, too. But man, I struck out, pun intended, at the food there because we went to like a taco truck. They didn't have no tacos. They just had chips. I was like, you are a taco truck. Taco truck, no tacos. They said, and they didn't tell you until you got to the front of the line.
Oh, come on, man. Gone.
Yes. I was like, man. So we started telling the Dodgers fans in line what was going on and just left the Braves fans to figure it out on their own. But it was very disappointing because I was like, man, I was just listening to your trip to Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, and I was like, I'm going to get my Danny Foxworth on and try some of this ballpark food. I took pictures of it. I deleted the pictures off my phone. It was so terrible. I was disappointed, man. I was like, this is not for me.
Oh, that sucks.
It was so bad, man. So,
but I will say, MLB All-Star Game is going to be at Truist next year.
Oh, I bet they're going to do it up for that.
Yeah.
So I believe, man, I might need to get out there for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to go. That's on my bucket list. Yeah.
Short little trip. The ballpark, the food is terrible. Pack your lunch, but the ballpark is incredible. I was like, oh, this is nice. And I don't know. Okay, that's good. I gotta mark that down. See, I had to mention the trip on this one in case I want to claim it as an expense on my taxes. So
yeah,
we'll see if we do that next year. Got to make it happen. Well, Danny, what else do we have to cover about this MLB season that we didn't touch on? Should we tune in for At the Plate?
I like that. Okay, Mr. John Stockton with the alley-oop. Yeah, well, you know what? Gary Payton. Let's go with Gary Payton.
Thank you. There we go. Throwing it to Sean Kemp, the Rain Man. It's raining outside.
Yep. See? It was meant to be. But yeah, I'm doing a playoff preview episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth, and this coming very, very, very soon with my guy, Cedric Warren, who was on last year to do the playoff preview episode with me. So I'm getting the two-piece band back together. So y'all be on the lookout for that.
Definitely. And you got to tell everybody where to find all your podcasts.
All right. You can find my baseball podcast At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. Since we last spoke with Danny Foxworth, my podcast about candles, which is entitled A Wicked Good Time with Danny Foxworth, and my other podcast, Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny, which is basically my best friend and longest tenured friend ever in life, my friend Liz Rennie. We've been friends for literally 40 years. And we just get together and talk about what it was like, well, growing up in the low country, hence the name. You can find all those on all streaming platforms and on my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Danny Foxworth 843. There you can find all the videos for every episode of all four of those podcasts. So tune in, and I appreciate your eyes and ears. Tell a friend and tell a friend. And Brandon, appreciate you, man. You were the reason why you really kickstarted my podcast foray. So kudos to you.
I'm glad I could be a part of history. Unlike we just talked about the White Sox, they can't figure it out. I cannot believe it. Like it was probably, was it 2 years ago? About this time, we did the Logator podcast.
Yeah,
it might have been even long. I don't even remember.
It was September of 2022.
That is crazy. And I remember asking you, what are you going to do? And you, man, I got a baseball podcast in the works. Then you popped out with 2 podcasts, and now there's 2 more on top of that.
Yeah.
And just to see, I say it every time you're on, man, but just to see the growth, see the, like doing guest spots everywhere now, the quality of guests you get on your shows, whew, this man is killing it. He's having his own Shohei season.
Appreciate it, man. I mean, you set the bar high with Coach Herbert, man. So, you know, them some big shoes to fill. I went back and listened to that episode again yesterday.
That man is ridiculous. I'm trying to get him to do something too, but we're working on him slowly but surely.
Word, gotta get him back on.
Again, man, cannot thank you enough. Be on the lookout for the playoff preview from Danny because he is going to kill it for sure. He did a great job last year too. Go check out everything he's doing because the man is incredible at this. Follow him on social media. His Instagram account. From someone who hates taking pictures, I don't document anything. You don't even know I'm alive. Danny's got it down in a way that does not annoy me, which is Sometimes I hop on, I'm like, why is this person still online? But Danny's posting stuff you want to see. So please.
At Danny Foxworth 843. See,
yes.
I'm for the people. I want to make it easy for you to find me.
Do that. I'm going to make it even easier. It's going to be in the show notes here. And I mean, what are you waiting on? Please go. But no, man, I appreciate you coming on. Everyone who is watching, listening, rating, subscribing, reviewing, commenting, I appreciate y'all as well. And I will catch y'all later.